What's up, guys? Guys, what's up, Trash Can? What's up, Tom? What's going on, guys? How you guys doing tonight? Tonight will be another interesting night. The Book of Jubilees. I listened to it this morning, and very interesting. This is parts of Moses that was taken out of the Bible, aside from the Ten Commandments that we already know of. In fact, listen to it today. It showed, he said something about children looking at little screens, which are cell phones, which is pretty crazy. Like, this is over 2,000 years ago. Again, this is before Jesus, and pretty amazing. This is basically about the calendar in heaven, like we have a calendar here, 365 days a year. The actual true calendar is actually 364 days, according according to the Book of Jubilees. Also, according to the Book of Enoch. Um, it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. This one is just under 2 hours. Last night's audio book was 2 hours and 20 minutes. This one's an hour and 53 minutes. So it's a little bit shorter, but it's no less interesting. It definitely gives you something to think about. Um, so we got about 4 or 5 people. Yeah, well, that's the way it's going to be. We're going to be shunned for a lot of things when it has to do with God, and those are the ones that you can't do nothing about that. So we can only try to be as true as we can to God. And hopefully, maybe our brothers or friends will catch on to it. Maybe they won't, but I know I'm catching on to a lot more now these days, and I'm trying to stay truer, truer to God. I still don't feel like I'm worthy, but as these books tell us, none of us are worthy. But through the grace of God, we're still accepted. As long as we believe, and as long as we do the right thing. You know, and yeah. So I'm gonna get the book started. Let me share out the screen, and I'm gonna change the settings too. And I'll stop halfway through so we can talk and stuff, and you guys can take a break. Well, Trash, I have to say that we're not supposed to be lovers of ourselves. We're not supposed to love ourselves. We're supposed to love the Maker, because without the Maker, we don't even exist. Um, and I also believe God helps those who help others, not just ourselves. We have to help others, and our neighbors and the homeless and whatever we can do. It's not about us. It's about it's about God. Like I said, we wouldn't be here without Him. So yeah, for sure. Being honest, definitely, definitely. But hey, I'm not a preacher. I just, I just want to share what I'm learning, and hopefully you guys enjoy it too. Let me change the settings, and we're gonna get started. Share the screen.
What if the time you're living in right now isn't real time at all? What if every calendar on your wall, every date in your phone, every holiday you celebrate is just a shadow of something far older, far more sacred, something that was stolen from humanity thousands of years ago? Tonight, we're going to open a book that was banned for over 2,000 years. A book so dangerous that emperors burned it, councils condemned it, and priests hid it away in the darkest corners of forgotten monasteries. It's called the Book of Jubilees, and it doesn't just tell the story of creation. It reveals the true calendar of heaven, a perfect rhythm of time given by angels to Moses on Mount Sinai, a calendar that counted 364 days, not 365, a calendar where every Sabbath fell on the same day, every season moved in flawless harmony, and every moment was measured by the breath of God himself. But when mankind abandoned this sacred calendar, something broke. Time became a tool of power. The seasons lost their meaning, and humanity forgot how to walk in step with heaven. The Book of Jubilees was removed from the Bible because it threatened those who controlled time itself. But here, in the quiet of this night, we will read it again. So close your eyes, let the weight of the day fall away, and step back into the time before time was corrupted, when angels still walked the earth, and heaven's clock still beat in the hearts of men. This is the Book of Jubilees. Let us begin.
Trading isn't about being early, it's about being accurate. AI does both. If you're still spending 20...
Chapter 1. The Angel on Mount Sinai. The mountain burned, not with the fire of wood or stone, but with a light so pure, so overwhelming, that it seemed the very fabric of the sky was tearing open. Smoke rose in thick black columns, spiraling upward like the pillars of some cosmic temple, and thunder rolled across the desert floor, shaking the earth beneath the feet of the Israelites camped below. They trembled, they prayed, and they dared not look up. But Moses climbed. Step by step, he ascended the jagged slopes of Mount Sinai, his staff in one hand, his heart pounding in his chest. The air grew thinner with every step. The wind howled around him, carrying voices he could not understand, songs that seemed to rise from the stones themselves. He had been summoned. The Lord had called him by name, and Moses, though weary and afraid, did not hesitate. For he knew that what awaited him at the summit was not merely a message, but a revelation that would shape the destiny of his people for all generations to come. When he reached the top, the clouds parted. And there, standing in the center of a light brighter than the sun, yet soft as the glow of dawn, was the angel of the presence. He was tall beyond measure, clothed in robes of white that shimmered like woven starlight. His face was both terrible and kind, filled with a wisdom that stretched back before the foundation of the world. Great wings arched from his shoulders, each feather edged with gold, and in his hands he held something Moses had never seen before. Tablets, but not tablets of stone. These were made of light itself, glowing softly, inscribed with words that seemed to move and breathe as though alive. The letters shone with a radiance that did not hurt the eyes but filled the heart with awe. The angel spoke. His voice was like the sound of many waters, deep and clear, carrying the weight of eternity. Moses, servant of the Most High, do not be afraid. Moses fell to his knees, his face pressed against the cold stone of the mountain. He could not speak. He could barely breathe. The angel continued, "The Lord has seen the suffering of his people. He has heard their cries. And now he sends me to you, not only with the law that will guide them, but with the full history of creation itself, from the first day until the day when all things shall be made new." Moses lifted his head, his eyes filled with wonder and fear. "What? What am I to do, my Lord?" The angel stepped closer, and as he did, the air around him seemed to hum with a quiet, steady power, like the beating of a great heart. "You are to write, Moses. You are to write down everything I will show you, the works of creation, the division of time, the laws of the heavens, the covenants made with your fathers, and above all, you are to write the calendar of heaven, the sacred rhythm by which all things were made and by which all things shall return to the Lord." Moses looked at the glowing tablets in the angel's hands. "Is this the law?" The angel smiled gently. "This is more than the law, Moses. This is the memory of heaven. These are the tablets that have existed since before the world began, kept in the courts of the Most High, where every deed of man, every breath of creation, every movement of the stars is recorded." He held the tablets out, and Moses saw that they were covered in writing so intricate, so vast, that it would take a lifetime to read them all. "On these tablets," the angel said, "is written the history of the world, divided into weeks of years, into jubilees. Every 7 years is a Sabbath of years. Every 7 Sabbaths of years, 49 years in all, leads to the 50th year, the year of Jubilee, when all debts are forgiven, all slaves are freed, and the earth itself rests in the arms of God." Moses trembled. "How long, my Lord? How long must I write?" The angel's gaze was steady, filled with compassion. 40 days and 40 nights, Moses. You will neither eat nor drink, for you will be sustained by the presence of the Lord alone. And when you descend from this mountain, you will carry with you not only the commandments, but the full knowledge of time itself, so that your people may walk in step with heaven." Moses bowed his head. "I am ready, my Lord." The angel placed his hand upon Moses' shoulder, and in that moment, Moses felt a warmth flood through him, a strength that was not his own, a peace that quieted every fear. "Then rise, Moses, son of Amram, and write." The clouds above them opened wider, and from the heavens descended a light so brilliant, so complete, that it seemed to hold within it every color, every sound, every moment that had ever been or ever would be. And Moses rose. He took the stylus the angel offered him, and he began to write, not on stone, not on parchment, but on his heart. For what the angel was about to reveal was not merely a record of the past, but a map of eternity itself, a guide for every soul seeking to find its way back to the rhythm of heaven, back to the time when God walked in the garden at the cool of the day, and all creation moved in perfect harmony with his breath. The angel opened the first tablet. "In the beginning," he said, his voice soft now, almost a whisper, "God created the heavens and the earth, and with them he created time." Moses wrote, and as he wrote, the story of creation unfolded before him, not as he had known it, but as it truly was, measured not in days alone, but in the sacred weeks and jubilees that bound all of existence together in a single, eternal song. The fire on the mountain burned on. The people below waited. And Moses, alone with the angel in the presence of God, continued to write the words that would one day be called the Book of Jubilees, the book that revealed the secret of time itself. Chapter 2. The True Calendar of Heaven. The angel's hand moved across the tablet of light, and as his fingers traced the glowing letters, images began to form in the air around Moses, shimmering like reflections on water. He saw the sun rising and setting in perfect rhythm. He saw the moon waxing and waning, the stars wheeling across the vault of heaven in their appointed paths. And beneath it all, he heard a sound soft and steady, like the ticking of some great cosmic clock, counting out the moments of eternity. "Moses," the angel said, his voice calm and clear, "what you are about to learn has been hidden from mankind since the days of the Watchers. It is the knowledge that the fallen ones sought to corrupt, the truth that empires have tried to bury, and the rhythm that your people must restore if they are ever to walk in the light of the Lord." Moses looked up, his heart pounding. "What is it, my Lord?" The angel's eyes gleamed. "It is the calendar of heaven, the true measure of time ordained by God himself on the fourth day of creation, when he placed the sun and the moon and the stars in the firmament to mark the seasons, the days, and the years." He gestured, and the images shifted. Moses saw a circle of light divided into perfect segments, each one glowing with its own quiet brilliance. "The year of heaven," the angel continued, "is not like the years that men have invented. It does not follow the wandering moon, nor does it bend to the whims of kings and priests. It is fixed. It is eternal. And it contains exactly 364 days." Moses frowned. 364, my Lord. "But the moon," the angel raised his hand gently. "The moon was given to mark the months, Moses, but it was never meant to govern the year. Those who follow the lunar calendar, those who count 354 days and add their intercalations and adjustments, they have strayed from the path. For the calendar of heaven is solar, and it is perfect." He pointed to the circle of light. "Look closely. The year is divided into 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Each season contains exactly 91 days. 91 is 7 times 13. 13 weeks. Do you see?" Moses nodded slowly, his mind racing. "Yes, my Lord. 13 weeks in each season. That is 52 weeks in a year." "Precisely," the angel said, a note of quiet satisfaction in his voice. 52 weeks. 364 days. A year that divides evenly, without remainder, without confusion. A year in which every Sabbath falls on the same day of the month, every festival occurs at the same point in the sacred rhythm, and the seasons themselves move in flawless harmony. Moses felt a strange stirring in his chest, as though something deep within him was awakening, something he had always known but never understood. "But, my Lord," he said hesitantly, "the Egyptians, the Babylonians, they all use different calendars. They follow the moon, they add days, they change the count to suit their kings and their gods. How can we know that this calendar, this 364-day year, is the true one?" The angel's gaze softened. "Because, Moses, it is the calendar that was given to Adam in the garden. It is the calendar that Noah kept aboard the ark. It is the calendar that Abraham taught to Isaac, and Isaac to Jacob. It has been passed down through the righteous ones, the fathers of your people, even as the rest of the world forgot." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice carried a weight of sorrow. "When the watchers fell, when the 200 angels descended to Mount Hermon and took the daughters of men as their wives, they did not only teach mankind the secrets of weapons and sorcery and astrology, they taught them to corrupt time itself." Moses' breath caught. "How, my Lord?" The angel's expression darkened. "They taught men to follow the moon instead of the sun. They taught them to count days by the rising and setting of stars, by the movements of planets, by omens and signs in the heavens. They turned time into a tool of divination, a means of control, a way to bind the hearts of men to the powers of darkness." He gestured again, and the circle of light fractured, breaking into uneven pieces, each one spinning off in a different direction. When mankind abandoned the calendar of heaven, they lost their connection to the sacred rhythm. The Sabbaths no longer aligned. The festivals no longer fell at the appointed times. And the people began to drift, wandering in confusion, no longer walking in step with the Lord. Moses felt a chill run down his spine. "And now, my Lord," Can it be restored?" The angel turned to him, and in his eyes was a fierce, unshakable hope. "That is why you are here, Moses. That is why the Lord has called you to this mountain. You are to write down the true calendar, so that your people may keep it, so that they may teach it to their children and their children's children until the end of days." He placed his hand over the glowing tablet. "Listen carefully and write what I tell you." Moses took up his stylus, his hand steady now, his heart filled with a strange and solemn joy. The angel began. "The year begins on the first day of the first month, which is always a Wednesday. For on the fourth day of creation, God made the sun and the moon, and the fourth day is the day when light was given dominion over time." Moses wrote, "Each month contains either 30 or 31 days, arranged so that the seasons remain balanced. The first month has 30 days, the second 30, the third 31, and so it continues, in perfect order, so that at the end of the year the count is complete." Moses wrote, "There are 4 great festivals in the year, and each one falls at a precise point in the sacred calendar. Passover, on the 15th day of the first month, the Feast of Weeks, 50 days after Passover, the Day of Atonement, on the 10th day of the 7th month, and the Feast of Tabernacles, on the 15th day of the 7th month." Moses wrote, his hand moving swiftly now, the words flowing like a river. "And every 7th year," the angel continued, "is a Sabbath year, a year when the land rests and the people are reminded that all things belong to the Lord. And every 7th Sabbath year, every 49th year, is followed by the 50th year, the year of Jubilee, when all debts are forgiven, all slaves are freed, and the earth itself is renewed." He paused, and his voice grew softer, almost tender. "This is the rhythm of heaven, Moses. This is the heartbeat of creation. It has been forgotten by the nations. It has been buried by those who seek to control time for their own purposes. But it has never been lost. And now, through you, it will be given back to the people of God." Moses looked up, tears glistening in his eyes. "My Lord, I do not deserve this honor." The angel smiled. "None of us deserve the gifts of God, Moses, but he gives them nonetheless. And he has chosen you, not because you are perfect, but because you are faithful." He touched Moses' forehead gently, and a wave of warmth spread through him, filling him with a peace he had never known. "Now write, Moses. Write until the sun rises. Write until your hand grows weary. Write until every word is inscribed upon your heart. For what you are writing is not merely a calendar. It is a covenant. It is a promise. It is a way back to the garden, where time and eternity met in the cool of the day, and God walked with man in perfect harmony." Moses bowed his head. "I will write, my Lord." And so he did. The night deepened. The stars wheeled overhead. And on the summit of Mount Sinai, bathed in the light of heaven, Moses continued to write the sacred calendar, the rhythm that would guide his people through the wilderness, through the centuries, through the ages of darkness and light, until the day when all things would be made new, and time itself would bow before the throne of God. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 3. Creation, week by week. The angel's hand moved once more across the tablet, and the light around them shifted, deepening into colors Moses had never seen before, hues that seemed to exist between blue and gold, between shadow and radiance, as though the very essence of creation was unfolding before his eyes. "Now, Moses," the angel said, his voice rich with ancient memory, "I will show you what happened in the beginning. Not as men have told it, not as scribes have shortened it, but as it truly was, measured in the rhythm of heaven, counted in the sacred weeks that bind all things together." Moses leaned forward, his breath shallow, his heart wide open. The angel began, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The words hung in the air like a song, and as they did, Moses saw it, the formless void, the deep waters covered in darkness, and above them the Spirit of God moving like a breath, like a wind, like the gentlest whisper of love over the face of the deep. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Not the light of the sun, for the sun had not yet been made. Not the light of fire, for fire was still sleeping in the heart of stone. This was the first light, the uncreated light, the light that came directly from the presence of God himself. It poured forth like a river, flooding the darkness, pushing it back to the edges of existence, and when it settled, the world was no longer formless. It had structure, it had hope, and God separated the light from the darkness. The angel continued. He called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Moses watched as the image shifted, the light and darkness swirling together in a dance of perfect balance, neither overwhelming the other, both held in the hands of the Creator. "But Moses," the angel said, turning to him, "what men do not know is this. On the first day God also created the angels." Moses' eyes widened. "The angels, my lord." The angel nodded. "Yes, for we were there, Moses. We were there when the foundations of the earth were laid. We sang when the morning stars shone together. We watched as the light burst forth from the darkness, and we bowed before the throne of the Most High, crying, 'Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty.'" He paused, and his voice grew quieter, tinged with sorrow. Not all of us remained faithful, but on that first day, we were all united in worship. We were all clothed in light, and we were all given a purpose, to serve the Creator and to watch over his creation. Moses felt a shiver run through him. He had always known the angels existed, but he had never imagined that they had been there from the very beginning, witnesses to the birth of the world. The angel continued. "On the second day, God made the firmament. Moses saw the waters divide, some rising up into the heights, some sinking down into the depths, and between them a great expanse of sky, clear and blue and endless, like a veil separating the earthly from the heavenly. He called the firmament heaven," the angel said. "And it was not merely empty space, Moses. It was a boundary, a threshold, the place where the visible and the invisible meet. Above the firmament are the waters of heaven, the source of all rain, all life, all blessing. Below are the waters of earth, the seas and the rivers and the springs that give drink to every living thing." Moses wrote, his hand moving swiftly, capturing every word. "On the third day, God gathered the waters of the earth into one place, and he called them seas. And he caused the dry land to appear, and he called it earth. Moses saw the ground rise up, breaking through the surface of the water, forming mountains and valleys, plains and deserts, each one shaped by the hand of God with perfect care. And then, the angel said, his voice brightening, God spoke again. He said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, herbs yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit according to their kind, with seed in themselves." And it happened. The earth exploded with life. Green shoots burst from the soil, spreading like a wave across the land. Trees rose up, their branches heavy with fruit, their leaves shimmering in the newborn light. Flowers bloomed in 1,000 colors, filling the air with fragrance, and the earth itself seemed to hum with joy. This, the angel said softly, was the first Sabbath of creation. For the earth rested in the goodness of God, clothed in beauty, prepared for the life that was yet to come. On the fourth day, God made the sun, the moon, and the stars. Moses saw the sky ignite. The sun blazed forth, a great orb of fire, pouring light and warmth across the face of the earth. The moon rose, pale and gentle, reflecting the glory of the sun. And the stars, countless and glittering, were scattered across the heavens like seeds sown by an invisible hand. And God set them in the firmament, the angel said, to give light upon the earth, to divide the day from the night, and to be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. He looked at Moses intently. This is the day, Moses, when time itself was given form. Before this, there was only the rhythm of light and darkness. But now there were markers, measures, a way to count the passage of days and the turning of seasons. This is the day when the calendar of heaven was born. Moses felt a deep reverence settle over him. He understood now why the calendar began on a Wednesday, the fourth day. It was the day when the heavens declared the glory of God, when the rhythm of creation became visible to all. On the fifth day, God spoke to the waters and to the sky. Moses saw the seas come alive. Fish of every kind, from the smallest minnow to the great leviathan, swam through the depths. Whales breached the surface, their songs echoing through the water. And in the sky, birds took flight, their wings catching the light, their voices filling the air with music. And God blessed them, the angel said, and said, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the skies." Moses smiled, watching the creatures dance and play, each one a reflection of the Creator's boundless imagination. On the sixth day, God made the creatures of the land. Moses saw them emerge, one by one, from the earth itself. Cattle and beasts of burden, walking steadily across the fields. Wild animals, lions and bears and wolves, each one strong and proud. Creatures that crawled, serpents and lizards and insects, moving through the grass and the shadows. And then, the angel said, his voice filled with awe, God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness." Moses felt his breath catch. The scene before him changed. The earth grew still. The animals paused. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. And God knelt down. He took dust from the ground, ordinary dust, the same substance that covered the mountains and the valleys, and he shaped it with his own hands. He formed a body, perfect and whole, and then he leaned close, and he breathed. The breath of God entered the dust, and the dust became a living soul. Adam opened his eyes. And God blessed him, the angel said softly, and gave him dominion over all the earth, over every living thing, over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and every creature that moves upon the ground. Moses saw Adam stand, tall and strong, his face filled with wonder, and he saw God walk with him in the garden, teaching him the names of the animals, showing him the trees and the rivers, and finally, bringing him to the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God said to him, "Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it you shall surely die." Moses watched as Adam nodded, his eyes clear, his heart pure. Then God caused a deep sleep to fall upon him, and from his side he took a rib, and from that rib he formed Eve. When Adam awoke and saw her, his face lit up with joy. "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh," he said. "She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man." And God blessed them both and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it." And on the seventh day, the angel said, his voice reverent, God rested. Moses saw the garden bathed in a golden light, soft and warm, and he saw Adam and Eve kneeling together, their hands lifted in worship, and he saw the angels gathered around them, singing, their voices rising in a harmony so beautiful it seemed to hold the entire universe in its embrace. And God blessed the seventh day, the angel continued, and made it holy, for on that day he rested from all his work. And he commanded that all creation should rest with him, that every seventh day should be a Sabbath, a day of peace, a day of remembering that all things come from him and return to him. Moses felt tears streaming down his face. He had heard the story of creation many times, but he had never felt it like this. He had never understood that creation was not just an event in the distant past, but a living rhythm, a sacred pattern woven into the very fabric of existence. The angel placed his hand on Moses' shoulder. This, Moses, is the week of creation. 7 days. Each one measured, each one holy, each one a step in the dance of heaven and earth. And every week that follows, every Sabbath that your people keep, is an echo of this first week, a way of walking in step with the Creator himself. Moses bowed his head. I understand, my Lord. The angel smiled. Then write, Moses. Write so that your people will never forget. Write so that when they keep the Sabbath, they will remember that they are joining in the rhythm of creation itself, the rhythm that was set in motion before the foundation of the world, and that will continue until all things are made new. Moses wrote, and the fire on the mountain burned on.
Let me respawn in Rome, please. Yes!
Our city currently has a population of 9. A farmer?
Chapter 4. Adam's First Jubilee. The light around Moses shifted once more, softening into the warm golden hues of evening. The images before him were no longer of cosmic creation, but of something smaller, more was the first Sabbath of creation. Rivers and the springs that give drink to every living thing. Moses wrote, his hand moving swiftly, capturing every word. On the third day, God gathered the waters of the earth into one place, and he called them seas. And he caused the dry land to appear, and he called it earth. Moses saw the ground rise up, breaking through the surface of the water, forming mountains and valleys, plains and deserts, each one shaped by the hand of God with perfect care. And then, the angel said, his voice brightening, God spoke again. He said, let the earth bring forth grass, herbs yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit according to their kind, with seed in themselves. And it happened. The earth exploded with life. Green shoots burst from the soil, spreading like a wave across the land. Trees rose up, their branches heavy with fruit, their leaves shimmering in the newborn light. Flowers bloomed in 1,000 colors, filling the air with fragrance, and the earth itself seemed to hum with joy. This, the angel said softly, was the first Sabbath of creation. For the earth rested in the goodness of God, clothed in beauty, prepared for the life that was yet to come. On the fourth day, God made the sun, the moon, and the stars. Moses saw the sky ignite. The sun blazed forth, a great orb of fire, pouring light and warmth across the face of the earth. The moon rose, pale and gentle, reflecting the glory of the sun. And the stars, countless and glittering, were scattered across the heavens like seeds sown by an invisible hand. And God set them in the firmament, the angel said, to give light upon the earth, to divide the day from the night, and to be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. He looked at Moses intently. This is the day, Moses, when time itself was given form. Before this, there was only the rhythm of light and darkness. But now there were markers, measures, a way to count the passage of days and the turning of seasons. This is the day when the calendar of heaven was born. Moses felt a deep reverence settle over him. He understood now why the calendar began on a Wednesday, the fourth day. It was the day when the heavens declared the glory of God, when the rhythm of creation became visible to all. On the fifth day, God spoke to the waters and to the sky. Moses saw the seas come alive. Fish of every kind, from the smallest minnow to the great leviathan, swam through the depths. Whales breached the surface, their songs echoing through the water. And in the sky, birds took flight, their wings catching the light, their voices filling the air with music. And God blessed them, the angel said, and said, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the skies." Moses smiled, watching the creatures dance and play, each one a reflection of the Creator's boundless imagination. On the sixth day, God made the creatures of the land. Moses saw them emerge, one by one, from the earth itself. Cattle and beasts of burden, walking steadily across the fields. Wild animals, lions and bears and wolves, each one strong and proud. Creatures that crawled, serpents and lizards and insects, moving through the grass and the shadows. And then, the angel said, his voice filled with awe, God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness." Moses felt his breath catch. The scene before him changed. The earth grew still. The animals paused. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. And God knelt down. He took dust from the ground, ordinary dust, the same substance that covered the mountains and the valleys, and he shaped it with his own hands. He formed a body, perfect and whole, and then he leaned close, and he breathed. The breath of God entered the dust, and the dust became a living soul. Adam opened his eyes. And God blessed him, the angel said softly, and gave him dominion over all the earth, over every living thing, over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and every creature that moves upon the ground. Moses saw Adam stand, tall and strong, his face filled with wonder, and he saw God walk with him in the garden, teaching him the names of the animals, showing him the trees and the rivers, and finally, bringing him to the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God said to him, "Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die." Moses watched as Adam nodded, his eyes clear, his heart pure. Then God caused a deep sleep to fall upon him, and from his side he took a rib, and from that rib he formed Eve. When Adam awoke and saw her, his face lit up with joy. "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh," he said. "She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man." And God blessed them both and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it." And on the seventh day, the angel said, his voice reverent, God rested. Moses saw the garden bathed in a golden light, soft and warm, and he saw Adam and Eve kneeling together, their hands lifted in worship, and he saw the angels gathered around them, singing, their voices rising in a harmony so beautiful it seemed to hold the entire universe in its embrace. And God blessed the seventh day, the angel continued, and made it holy, for on that day he rested from all his work. And he commanded that all creation should rest with him, that every seventh day should be a Sabbath, a day of peace, a day of remembering that all things come from him and return to him. Moses felt tears streaming down his face. He had heard the story of creation many times, but he had never felt it like this. He had never understood that creation was not just an event in the distant past, but a living rhythm, a sacred pattern woven into the very fabric of existence. The angel placed his hand on Moses' shoulder. "This, Moses, is the week of creation. 7 days. Each one measured, each one holy, each one a step in the dance of heaven and earth. And every week that follows, every Sabbath that your people keep, is an echo of this first week, a way of walking in step with the Creator himself." Moses bowed his head. "I understand, my Lord." The angel smiled. "Then write, Moses. Write so that your people will never forget. Write so that when they keep the Sabbath, they will remember that they are joining in the rhythm of creation itself, the rhythm that was set in motion before the foundation of the world, and that will continue until all things are made new." Moses wrote, "And the fire on the mountain burned on." Chapter 4. Adam's First Jubilee. The light around Moses shifted once more, softening into the warm golden hues of evening. The images before him were no longer of cosmic creation, but of something smaller, more intimate, a garden enclosed, a place where heaven and earth touched in perfect harmony. He saw Eden. It was more beautiful than any poem could describe, more alive than any dream could imagine. Rivers flowed like veins of light through the land. their waters crystal clear, singing as they moved over smooth stones. Trees rose tall and graceful, their branches heavy with fruit that glowed softly, as though lit from within. Flowers bloomed in colors that had no names, and the air itself seemed to hum with the presence of God. And in the center of it all, walking hand in hand along a path of soft grass, were Adam and Eve. They were clothed in light, not garments of cloth, but a radiance that flowed from their bodies, pure and unashamed. Their faces were peaceful, their eyes clear, and when they spoke to each other, their words were like music, filled with joy and wonder. "This, Moses," the angel said quietly, "is how it was meant to be. This is the world as God designed it, before sin entered, before death, before the calendar of heaven was broken." Moses watched, his heart aching with a longing he could not name. "How long, my Lord?" he whispered. "How long did they live in this peace?" The angel's gaze grew distant, as though he were remembering something both beautiful and tragic. 7 years, Moses. 7 perfect years. From the day Adam was formed until the day he ate from the forbidden tree, 7 years passed. 1 week of years. 1 Sabbath cycle. And in that time, Adam and Eve walked with God in the cool of the day. They kept the Sabbath. They tended the garden. And they lived in the rhythm of heaven. He gestured, and the image before them began to move, like a story unfolding in real time. In the first year, the angel said, Adam learned the names of all the creatures. God brought them to him, one by one, and Adam spoke their names aloud, and the animals bowed before him, for he was made in the image of God, and they recognized the divine authority within him. Moses saw Adam kneeling beside a lion, his hand resting gently on its mane, and the great beast purring like a lamb. He saw him laughing as a family of otters played in the river, and he saw him standing in silence, watching an eagle soar across the sky, his face filled with awe. In the second year, the angel continued, God taught Adam the calendar of heaven. He showed him the movements of the sun and the moon and the stars. He taught him to count the days, to mark the Sabbaths, to celebrate the festivals. And Adam wrote these things down on tablets of stone, so that his descendants would remember. Moses' heart leaped. Adam knew the calendar, my lord. The angel nodded. Yes, Moses. The calendar was not given to you for the first time on this mountain. It was given first to Adam, in the garden, in the days when heaven and earth were still one. He kept it faithfully. He taught it to his children, and it was passed down through the generations, through Seth, through Enoch, through Noah, until it came to your father Abraham. He paused, and his voice grew heavier. But when Adam fell, the calendar was lost. Not destroyed, but forgotten, hidden beneath the rubble of sin and death and the corrupted calendars of fallen men. Moses felt a chill. When did he fall, my lord? In which year? The angel's eyes darkened. In the 8th year, Moses. In the year that should have been the beginning of a new cycle, the year that should have marked the start of another Sabbath week, Adam and Eve were deceived, and they ate from the tree. The image before Moses changed. He saw the serpent, coiled around the trunk of the tree of knowledge, its scales shimmering with an unnatural light, its eyes gleaming with cunning and malice. It was no ordinary serpent. It moved like something intelligent, something that had once been greater than it was now. And it spoke. Has God really said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? It hissed, its voice smooth and persuasive. Eve stood before the tree, her face troubled, her heart wavering. We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, she replied, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. The serpent laughed, a cold, mocking sound. You will not surely die. For God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like him, knowing good and evil. Eve looked at the fruit. It was beautiful, glowing with a strange allure, and as she stared at it, something shifted inside her. A seed of doubt, a whisper of pride, a desire to be more than she was. She reached out. She took the fruit, and she ate. Moses wanted to cry out, to stop her, but he could only watch, helpless, as she turned and offered the fruit to Adam, who stood beside her, silent and sorrowful, knowing what was about to happen but choosing to follow her into the fall. He took the fruit, and he ate. The moment the fruit touched their lips, everything changed. The light that had clothed them flickered and went out, leaving them naked and ashamed. The air grew cold. The sky darkened, and in the distance, Moses heard a sound he had never heard before, a low, mournful groan, as though the earth itself were weeping. On that day, the angel said, his voice heavy with grief, death entered the world. Not just the death of the body, but the death of time itself. The sacred rhythm was broken. The calendar of heaven was shattered, and Adam and Eve were cast out of the garden into a world where time no longer moved in harmony with God, but dragged forward in pain and confusion. Moses saw them stumbling through the gates of Eden, their faces streaked with tears, their hands covering their bodies with leaves, and behind them an angel with a flaming sword standing guard at the entrance, ensuring that they could never return. And from that moment, the angel continued. The world began to forget. The nations abandoned the calendar of heaven and followed the moon, the stars, the invented cycles of kings and priests. They lost the Sabbath. They lost the festivals. They lost the rhythm that connected them to their Creator. He turned to Moses, and his eyes were filled with a fierce, unshakable determination. But God did not abandon them, Moses. Even in their fall, he made a promise. He said to the serpent, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. That was the first promise of redemption, the first glimpse of the one who would come to restore what was lost. Moses felt a surge of hope. And the calendar, my Lord, can it be restored? The angel smiled. That is why you are here, Moses. That is why the Lord has called you to this mountain. Through you, the calendar of heaven will be given back to his people. Through you, the rhythm will be remembered. And one day, when the promised one comes, all things will be made new, and time itself will be healed. Moses bowed his head. Then I will write, my Lord. I will write until every word is engraved upon my heart. The angel placed his hand upon Moses' shoulder. Good, for the story is only beginning. There is much more to tell. And Moses wrote. He wrote of Adam's sorrow, of his long years outside the garden, of the birth of Cain and Abel, of the first murder, of Seth, the son born to replace Abel, the one through whom the righteous line would continue. He wrote of Adam's final days, when he gathered his children and said, remember the calendar of heaven. Do not follow the ways of the nations. Keep the Sabbath. Honor the Lord. For one day he will send a Redeemer, and all things will be restored. And on the day Adam died, 930 years after his creation, the angels came and carried his soul to the place of rest, where he would wait for the fulfillment of the promise. The angel looked at Moses. Adam's first jubilee lasted 7 years, Moses. But the jubilees of his descendants would last 50. 7 times 7 years, and then one more. The year of release, the year when all debts are forgiven and all slaves are freed. This is the pattern that will guide your people through the ages, until the final jubilee, when the earth itself is set free from the bondage of sin. Moses felt tears on his cheeks. I understand, my Lord. The angel nodded. Then let us continue. For there is more to tell, much more. And the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 5. The Watchers and the Corruption of Time. The light around Moses dimmed, and the warmth that had filled the air grew cold. The images before him shifted, no longer showing the beauty of Eden or the sorrow of Adam's exile, but something darker, something that made his heart tremble with a fear he had never known. He saw the sky open, and from the heavens 200 angels descended. They were not like the angel of the presence who stood beside him now. They were not clothed in the pure light of heaven, not moving with the quiet grace of those who serve the Lord in perfect obedience. These angels were different. Their faces were stern, their eyes filled with a strange, restless longing, and as they descended, the air around them crackled with a power that was both glorious and terrifying. "Who are they, my Lord?" Moses whispered. The angel's voice was low, tinged with sorrow. "They are the Watchers, Moses. The ones who were sent to guard mankind, to watch over the children of Adam and ensure that they walked in the ways of the Lord. But they did not remain faithful. They saw the daughters of men, and they desired them. And they made a covenant among themselves, a terrible oath, that they would descend to the earth and take wives from among humanity." Moses felt a chill run through him. "When, my Lord? When did this happen?" The angel's gaze was distant. "In the days of Jared, Moses. In the days when the sons of Seth still dwelt on the holy mountain, and the descendants of Cain had spread across the plains below, building cities and forging weapons and worshipping false gods. It was then that the watchers looked down from heaven and saw that the world was growing dark, that sin was spreading like a plague, and that the line between the righteous and the wicked was beginning to blur." He paused, and his voice grew heavier. "And instead of guarding mankind from corruption, they became the source of it." The image before Moses shifted, and he saw a great mountain rising from the earth, its peak shrouded in mist and shadow. The watchers gathered there, standing in a circle, their faces grim, their hands clasped together in a gesture of unity and defiance. "This is Mount Hermon," the angel said, "the mountain of the oath. Here, the watchers swore their terrible covenant. Their leader was Semjaza, and with him were 19 others, each commanding 10 angels beneath them. Together, they numbered 200. Moses saw Semjaza step forward, his voice ringing out across the mountain. "I fear," he said, "that I alone will bear the punishment for this great sin. Therefore, let us all swear an oath, binding ourselves with mutual curses, that none of us will turn back from this plan until we have accomplished it." And they swore. They swore by the name of the Almighty, by the very authority they had been given to serve him, and they bound themselves with curses that could never be undone. "And then," the angel continued, "they descended. They took human wives. And from those unions were born the Nephilim, the giants, the children of the fallen, who would bring terror and destruction upon the earth. Moses saw them, towering figures, half divine and half human, their bodies massive and powerful, their eyes burning with an unnatural fire. They were not like the children of Adam. They were something else, something that should never have existed, and as they walked the earth, the ground trembled beneath their feet. They devoured everything," the angel said, his voice filled with disgust. "The crops, the livestock, the wild animals, and when there was nothing left, they turned upon mankind itself. They consumed human flesh. They spilled blood without mercy. And the cries of the suffering rose up to heaven, and God heard. Moses felt sick. "But, my Lord," he said, his voice shaking, "you said they corrupted time itself. How? How did they do that?" The angel's eyes flashed. "Because, Moses, the Watchers did not only teach mankind the secrets of weapons and sorcery and astrology. They taught them to abandon the calendar of heaven." The image before Moses changed once more, and he saw Azazel, one of the chief of the Watchers, standing before a group of men, his hands gesturing toward the sky. "You have been following the wrong rhythm," Azazel said, his voice smooth and persuasive. "You have been keeping the Sabbath on the same day, over and over, like slaves bound to a chain. But time is not fixed, my brothers. Time is fluid. It bends to the will of those who understand it. The men listened, their faces hungry for knowledge. Look at the moon, Azazel continued, pointing upward. See how it waxes and wanes, how it moves through its cycles, independent of the sun. That is the true measure of time. Follow the moon. Count your months by its phases. And when the seasons drift, adjust them. Add days. Subtract days. Make time serve you, instead of serving time. Moses felt a wave of horror wash over him. He taught them to follow the lunar calendar, he whispered. The angel nodded grimly. Yes, and with that single act, the sacred rhythm was shattered. The Sabbaths no longer fell on the same day. The festivals drifted. The seasons lost their alignment. And mankind began to wander, no longer walking in step with the Creator, but stumbling through a broken, distorted version of time. He gestured again, and Moses saw other watchers teaching other corruptions. Kokabeel taught the signs of the stars, turning astronomy into astrology, teaching men to worship the heavenly bodies instead of the one who made them. Barakiel taught the omens of lightning and weather, turning the gifts of God into tools of divination and control. Armoros taught the breaking of enchantments, the manipulation of spiritual forces, the twisting of the natural order. They took the knowledge of heaven, the angel said, and they twisted it, corrupted it, weaponized it, until mankind no longer knew what was true and what was false, what was sacred and what was profane. Moses felt tears streaming down his face. And God, my Lord. What did God do? The angel's voice grew stern. He judged them, Moses. He sent the 4 great archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, to bind the watchers in the depths of the earth, to cast them into darkness, to seal them until the day of final judgment. And he sent the flood to cleanse the earth of the Nephilim and all the corruption they had brought. Moses saw it then, the waters rising, the rain falling in torrents, the earth drowning beneath the weight of God's judgment, and he saw Noah, the one righteous man, standing on the deck of the ark, his face lifted toward heaven, his heart filled with sorrow and hope. But even after the flood, the angel said quietly, the corruption remained. The calendar of heaven had been lost. The nations followed the moon, the stars, the invented cycles of their kings and priests. And only a few, a faithful remnant, still remembered. He turned to Moses. That is why you are here, Moses. That is why the Lord has called you to restore what was lost. The watchers tried to destroy the calendar of heaven, but they failed. For God has preserved it through Noah, through Abraham, through Isaac and Jacob. And now, through you, it will be given back to the people of Israel, so that they may walk once more in the rhythm of heaven. Moses bowed his head. I will write it, my Lord. I will write every word. The angel smiled, a fierce, joyful smile. Then write, Moses. Write so that the world will know. The watchers fell. The calendar was corrupted. But God's rhythm can never be destroyed. It can only be forgotten. And now, it will be remembered. Moses took up his stylus, and he wrote of the oath on Mount Hermon. He wrote of the descent of the watchers. He wrote of the Nephilim and the corruption of time. And he wrote of the judgment, the binding of the fallen, the flood that cleansed the earth, and the promise that one day all things would be restored. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 6. Noah and the Restoration. The waters receded. Moses watched as the flood that had covered the earth, drowning mountains and valleys, cities and forests, slowly began to fall. The rain ceasing at last, the sky clearing to reveal a sun that seemed somehow brighter, somehow purer than before. The ark rested on the peak of Mount Ararat, towering above the waters like a temple rising from the deep. Its wood was weathered but unbroken, its pitch still holding firm. And inside, Noah and his family waited, listening to the silence that follows judgment, the silence that carries within it the first whisper of hope. "This, Moses," the angel said softly, "is where time begins again. Not the first creation, but the second, the renewal, the restoration." Moses felt his breath catch. Noah knew, didn't he? He knew the calendar of heaven. The angel nodded, his eyes filled with quiet pride. Yes, Noah was not merely a righteous man, Moses. He was a keeper of the sacred rhythm. His father, Lamech, taught him. His grandfather, Methuselah, taught him. And Methuselah learned it from Enoch, who walked with God and was taken up into heaven without tasting death. He gestured, and the image before Moses shifted. He saw Noah as a young man, sitting at the feet of Methuselah, an old man whose face bore the weight of centuries, but whose eyes still shone with the light of heaven. "My son," Methuselah said, his voice gentle but firm, "the world is falling into darkness. Men follow the moon, the stars, the corrupted calendars taught by the watchers. They have forgotten the rhythm of heaven. But you must not forget. You must keep the true calendar, the 364 days, the 4 seasons, the 52 weeks. Keep the Sabbath on the appointed day. Celebrate the festivals at the proper times. For one day, God will cleanse the earth, and when he does, the calendar must be preserved." Noah listened, his heart heavy with understanding. "I will remember, grandfather. I will keep it faithfully." Methuselah placed his hand upon Noah's head. "Good, for through you, the sacred rhythm will pass to the new world. You will be the bridge, my son, the bridge between what was and what will be." The image shifted once more, and Moses saw the flood begin. The fountains of the great deep burst open, and the windows of heaven were flung wide, and water poured forth in torrents that shook the foundations of the earth. The Nephilim, those towering giants who had ruled through terror, tried to flee, but there was nowhere to go. The waters rose higher and higher, swallowing everything, until all that remained was the ark, floating alone upon the face of the deep. Noah counted the days. "Moses," the angel said, even as the world drowned around him, even as the cries of the dying echoed across the waters, he kept the calendar. He marked the Sabbaths. He remembered the festivals. He did not allow the chaos to steal the rhythm from his heart. Moses saw Noah standing on the deck of the ark, a small tablet in his hands, etching marks into the stone, counting the weeks, counting the months, keeping time, even when time itself seemed to have lost all meaning. And on the 17th day of the 2nd month, the angel continued. The fountains of the deep were closed, and the rain ceased. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, exactly 5 months later, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Moses felt a chill of recognition. 5 months, my Lord. Exactly 150 days. The angel smiled. Yes, Moses. 30 days per month. 5 months. 150 days. The calendar of heaven, preserved even in the midst of judgment. For God's rhythm does not change, even when the world falls apart. The image before Moses shifted once more, and he saw the earth drying, the waters retreating, the ground appearing once again, green shoots pushing up through the mud, life returning to the land. Noah opened the door of the ark. He stepped out onto the soil, still soft and damp, and he fell to his knees, his hands lifted toward heaven, his voice breaking with emotion. "O Lord, my God, you have been faithful. You have preserved us. And now, I ask, you teach me how to live in this new world. Show me the way to walk in your rhythm once more." And God answered. The angel appeared before Noah, clothed in light, and in his hands he held tablets, glowing softly, inscribed with the sacred calendar. "Noah," the angel said, his voice gentle, You have been faithful in the midst of judgment. You kept the calendar when all the world had forgotten it. And now I give it back to you, not as something old, but as something renewed, so that your children and your children's children may walk in the ways of the Lord." He handed the tablets to Noah. "The year begins on the first day of the first month, which is always a Wednesday, for that is the day when the lights of heaven were set in the firmament. Each season contains 91 days. Each month contains 30 or 31 days. And every 7th year is a Sabbath year, when the land rests. Every 49th year is followed by the Jubilee, the year of release, when all debts are forgiven and all slaves are freed." Noah bowed his head, tears streaming down his face. "I will teach it, my Lord. I will teach it to my sons, and they will teach it to their sons, and the calendar of heaven will never be lost again." The angel smiled. "Good, for the covenant I am about to make with you depends upon it." Moses saw the sky clear, the clouds parting, and a light shining through, brighter than the sun, soft and warm, and filled with promise. And in that light, a rainbow appeared. It arched across the heavens, its colors blazing with a beauty that no human eye had ever seen before, spanning from one end of the earth to the other, a bridge between heaven and the world below. "This is my covenant with you," God said, his voice like thunder and yet like the whisper of a father to his child. "I will never again destroy the earth with a flood. And as a sign of this covenant, I place my bow in the clouds. Whenever the rain comes and the bow appears, I will remember my promise. And you, Noah, and all your descendants will remember that I am faithful." Noah fell upon his face, overcome with gratitude. "We will remember, Lord. We will keep your covenant. We will keep your calendar. We will walk in your rhythm." And God blessed him. "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth. And teach your children to walk in my ways, so that when the promised one comes, the earth will be ready to receive him." The angel turned to Moses, and his voice was filled with quiet joy. Noah kept the covenant. Moses. He built an altar and offered sacrifices of thanksgiving. He planted a vineyard, though he later stumbled in his weakness. He taught his sons the calendar, though not all of them listened. Through Shem, the blessed line continued, and from Shem came your father Abraham. Moses felt a surge of hope. "And the calendar, my Lord, did it remain?" The angel's expression grew somber. "For a time, yes. But after Noah's death, the nations scattered. The descendants of Ham and Japheth followed their own ways. They returned to the lunar calendar. They worshipped the stars. They forgot the rhythm of heaven. But through Shem, through Eber, through Peleg and Reu and Serug and Nahor, the calendar was preserved, passed down like a flame in the darkness, until it came to Abraham, the friend of God. He placed his hand on Moses' shoulder. And that, Moses, is the story we will tell next. For Abraham did not merely receive the promise of a great nation. He received the calendar of heaven so that his descendants would know how to worship the Lord at the appointed times, in the appointed ways, walking in step with the rhythm of creation itself. Moses bowed his head. "I will write it, my Lord." The angel smiled. "Then write, for the story continues, and the best is yet to come." Moses took up his stylus, and he wrote. He wrote of the flood, of Noah's faithfulness, of the ark resting on Ararat. He wrote of the rainbow, the covenant, the renewal of the earth, and he wrote of the calendar, preserved through judgment, restored after the waters receded, given back to humanity so that they might once again walk in the rhythm of heaven. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 7.
Okay, so we're going into chapter 7. We're going to take a break. If you guys want to chat a little bit, you need to run to the bathroom, get something to drink. It's we're an hour in. We got about an hour left. It's gonna get even better. Um, yeah, it's like I listened to it this morning in its entirety, and just listening to it again, it just feels good. Yeah, I should probably let my dog out too. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Trash. Yeah, so just take a break. I won't start until everybody's ready, because it's important that everybody watches and everybody listens. Isn't it cool? You know what's funny is that, like, when I watched the Book of Enoch, it was like, wow, this has got to be one of the most important things I've ever heard. And then I listened to this one, and I'm like, this is just as important. Maggie's good. She's laying down. I need to take her out, so I'm gonna have to wake her up. Yeah, so like this is like just as important. This is like following the whole, like, in heaven they're connected to that same clock, and we're not. Yeah, the church definitely hit. I think that's what I think too. I think, people hit it to control us. I totally think that. I think you're right about that. And it's funny because when I used to go to church, I don't go to church anymore, but you know, he always says question everything, and I do. I question the Bible. I question the Bible because I'm like, I read the Bible from cover to cover. I'm like, something's missing. Something's just not sitting right with me. Especially when I read Genesis, and it said that Enoch walked with God, and God was pleased with him. So God just took him. I'm like, okay, if Enoch was one of the most important people in the Bible to God, why wasn't there a book? I'm like, why wasn't there a book? And then I found the Book of Enoch, and when you watch the Book of Enoch, it's like there's so much information that's so important. It makes sense that people would take it out so that they can control other people. Yeah, and I was telling Trash, yeah, I was telling you, Trash, that there was a book that has all the books that were taken out of the Bible, and I told you it was coming from Amazon, and it came today. It came today, and this is the Apocrypha from the Ethiopian Bible with all the missing apocryphas that were taken out of the Bible. So I'm excited to read this. Really excited. Yeah, I told you I was getting it, and here it is. It's pretty thick, so I'm excited. Yeah, so take some time. Yeah, we'll have to get into that too, Mamsie. I'm not familiar with that. So, or is that in the regular Bible? It's been a while. Yeah, go ahead and let your dog out. Don't worry, I'll wait for you. That's cool, Trash. I think I'm gonna let my dog out too. So I'm gonna take my headset off, and you'll see me back on the screen. I'm gonna go let my dog out. All right. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me, Trash? Just making sure. Cool, cool. We'll wait for, oh, that's cool, Tom. Okay, good. We'll wait for Mamsie to come back, and then we'll continue on, I think it was chapter 7. Trash is ready. Me too. No, but we'll wait for Mamsie though. Yeah, it's pretty. They didn't talk about cell phones. Cell phones are going to be coming up soon, where he talks about children staring at little screens in their hands. I'm like, oh my God. And I remember this is like over 2,000 years ago, so it's like crazy. Yeah. I'm waiting for Maggie to come back too. Maggie's in the kitchen getting her water. She's drinking her water now. I just took her out. So she's got a refill. I think we're on chapter 7. I think that's where I stopped it. Yeah, Maggie's awesome. I love Maggie. Yeah, we're on chapter 7. Oh, Maggie's back too. All right. Well, you could always get a Scotty, later on. Tommy, it's funny that you mentioned the earthquakes, because in the Book of um, Enoch, he mentions earthquakes happening, like a lot of earthquakes going on, and meanwhile, in the Philippines, they got earthquakes going on. So I think we got the right time of our lives to check this stuff out. Yeah, in the future, brother. I'm sure you'll have a chance to have one. Yeah. And hello to you people lurking in the back that are just chilling out, enjoying the show. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I know I am. This is the second time today watching it and listening to it. So it's just that's good for me, because it just makes it that much more fresher in my brain. Yeah, I don't even care about the likes. But thank you, Trash. I appreciate that. I got my light on, but I got the low light on. I could put a better light on, which is right above me, but I like it a little darker today. It sets the mood better. I mean, I could just pull this switch here. But it's not about me. It's about the Lord. Yeah, that's what I think too. A little more ambience. Amen. Oh, Mamsie's back. All right. Are you ready, brother? Is everybody ready for part two? Not cold here. It was actually warm. It's actually, well, it's 60 degrees now, which is good. I like 60s and 70s. Okay, I'm going to change the settings here so that the sound is better on the audio. Share the screen. Give me a thumbs up on the sound in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Abraham's covenant and sacred timing. The years passed like water flowing through a riverbed, carving deeper channels with each generation. And the story Moses saw before him moved forward through time, through the scattering at Babel, through the rise and fall of nations, until it came to rest in a city called Ur of the Chaldeans. There, in a world dominated by ziggurats and star worship, where men bowed before idols of stone and offered their children to gods of fire, one man stood apart. His name was Abram. Moses watched as the image unfolded before him, and he saw a young man standing on a rooftop under the night sky, his face lifted toward the stars, his heart filled with questions that no priest or sage could answer. The city below was alive with the sounds of worship, drums beating, voices chanting, the smell of incense and burning flesh rising on the wind. But Abram did not join them. He stood alone, searching the heavens, and in his heart a voice whispered softly, like the breath of God himself. These stars did not make themselves. They were set in place by one greater than they. And that one, not these lights of the sky, is the God I must serve. The angel beside Moses spoke quietly. This is the moment, Moses, when Abraham began to understand. He had been taught the ways of his father, Terah, who worshipped the moon god and made idols with his hands. But Abraham's heart could not be satisfied with images of wood and stone. He longed for the living God, the Creator, the one who made the heavens and the earth. Moses felt his own heart stir, and God answered him, "Didn't he?" The angel nodded. Yes, for God always answers those who seek him with a sincere heart. The image shifted, and Moses saw Abram older now, standing in a field outside the city, the night sky blazing above him with countless stars. And then, a voice. It was not the voice of thunder, not the voice of judgment, but the voice of a father calling to his son, warm and strong and filled with promise. Abram. Abram fell to his knees, his whole body trembling. Yes, Lord, I am listening. Leave this place. Leave your country, your kindred, your father's house. Go to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Abram's breath caught. But, Lord, where shall I go? I will show you. Trust me, and I will lead you. Abram bowed his head, and when he rose, his face was set with determination. I will go, Lord. Wherever you lead, I will follow. Moses saw Abram gather his household, his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all their possessions, and they set out from Ur, journeying north and then west, across rivers and deserts, through lands they had never seen, guided only by the voice of God and the rhythm of their faith. And as they traveled, the angel appeared to Abram once more. This time, the angel was not alone. He carried with him tablets of light, glowing softly in the darkness. And when Abram saw them, he knelt in reverence. Abram, the angel said, you have left behind the false gods and the corrupted calendars of the nations. Now, I will teach you the true calendar, the rhythm of heaven, so that you may worship the Lord at the appointed times, in the appointed ways. Abram lifted his eyes, and they were filled with tears of gratitude. Teach me, my Lord. I am ready. The angel smiled. The year of heaven contains 364 days, divided into 4 seasons of 91 days each. The first month begins on a Wednesday, the 4th day of the week, for that is the day when the lights of heaven were set in the firmament. Each week contains 7 days, and every 7th day is the Sabbath, a day of rest, a day of remembering that all things come from the Lord and return to him. Abram listened, his heart burning with understanding. And the festivals, my Lord, when shall we celebrate them? The angel's voice grew solemn. There are 4 great festivals in the year, Abram, and each one is a shadow of the covenant God will make with you and your descendants. He held up one finger. First, the Feast of Passover, on the 15th day of the first month. This is the Feast of Deliverance, when God will rescue his people from bondage and bring them into the land of promise. Abram nodded, though he did not yet understand how profound that promise would be. The angel held up a second finger. Second, the Feast of Weeks, 50 days after Passover. This is the Feast of the Harvest, when the first fruits are offered to the Lord, a sign that all good things come from his hand. A third finger. Third, the Day of Atonement, on the 10th day of the 7th month. This is the day when the sins of the people are covered, when the high priest enters the Holy of Holies and offers a sacrifice for the nation. And finally, a 4th finger. And fourth, the Feast of Tabernacles, on the 15th day of the 7th month. This is the Feast of Thanksgiving, when the people remember their journey through the wilderness and give thanks for the harvest and the faithfulness of God. Abram's face was radiant with joy. I will keep them, my Lord. I will keep every feast, every Sabbath, every appointed time, and I will teach them to my children so that they will never forget. The angel placed his hand upon Abram's head. Good. For these festivals are not merely rituals, Abram. They are the heartbeat of the covenant. They are the rhythm by which your descendants will walk in step with heaven. And when the promised one comes, he will fulfill every one of them in his life, in his death, and in his resurrection. The years passed, and Moses watched as Abraham, for that was the name God gave him, walked faithfully in the calendar of heaven. When Isaac was born, it was in the appointed time, in the 50th year of Abraham's journey, the year of Jubilee, the year when all things are made new. Moses saw Abraham holding the baby in his arms, tears streaming down his face, and he heard him whisper, "You are the child of promise. You are the fulfillment of God's word. And through you, all nations will be blessed. When Isaac grew, Abraham taught him the calendar, just as he had been taught by the angel. My son, Abraham said, time is not ours to control. It is a gift from God, a sacred rhythm that flows from his heart to ours. If we walk in step with him, we will find peace. But if we follow the calendars of men, the lunar cycles, the star worship, the invented festivals, we will wander in confusion. Isaac listened, and he remembered. And when Isaac had a son, Jacob, he taught him the same truths, passing down the calendar from generation to generation, like a torch carried through the darkness. Moses saw Jacob wrestling with the angel by the river Jabbok, and he saw the angel bless him and say, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men, and you have prevailed." And Jacob built an altar there, and he kept the Sabbath, and he celebrated the festivals at the appointed times, walking in the rhythm of heaven, even in the midst of struggle and pain. The angel turned to Moses. "Do you see, Moses? From Noah to Abraham, from Abraham to Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob, the calendar has been preserved. It has been passed down through the faithful, the remnant, those who refuse to follow the ways of the nations. And now, through you, it will be given to the entire people of Israel, so that they may become a light to the world, a nation that walks in step with the Creator himself." Moses felt a deep reverence settle over him. "But, my Lord," he said quietly, "if the calendar is so important, why do the nations not keep it? Why do they follow the moon, the stars, the invented cycles?" The angel's expression grew somber. "Because, Moses, the calendar of heaven requires something the nations are not willing to give: submission. It requires them to admit that time is not theirs to control, that they are not the masters of their own destiny, that there is a rhythm greater than their own desires, and that they must bend their will to the will of God." He paused, and his voice grew softer. "That is why the calendar was corrupted by the watchers. That is why the nations follow the moon. And that is why your people must be different. For if they keep the calendar of heaven, they will be a living testimony that God is real, that his ways are higher than man's ways, and that true freedom is found not in controlling time, but in surrendering to the one who made it." Moses bowed his head. "I understand, my Lord." The angel smiled. "Then write, Moses. Write so that your people will never forget. Write so that when they celebrate Passover, they will remember that God delivered them at the appointed time. Write so that when they keep the Sabbath, they will remember that time itself is a gift, a sacred rhythm that connects them to the very heartbeat of heaven." Moses took up his stylus, and he wrote. He wrote of Abraham's journey, of the covenant, of the birth of Isaac in the year of Jubilee. He wrote of the festivals, the Sabbaths, the sacred rhythm that had been preserved through the generations. And he wrote of the promise that through Abraham's seed, all nations would one day be blessed, and the calendar of heaven would be restored to all the earth. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 8. Moses and the Heavenly Tablets. The light around Moses intensified, growing brighter and warmer, and he felt himself lifted, as though the mountain beneath him were rising higher, pushing through the clouds, through the firmament itself, until he stood at the very threshold of heaven. The angel's voice was soft, reverent. "Moses, what I am about to show you now is not merely history. It is the foundation of all that has been and all that will be. You are about to see the heavenly tablets, the books that have existed since before the world began, where every deed, every breath, every moment of creation is written in the hand of God himself." Moses trembled. "My Lord, I am not worthy to see such things." The angel placed his hand upon Moses' shoulder, steadying him. "None are worthy, Moses. But God in his mercy chooses whom he will. And he has chosen you, not because of your strength, but because of your faithfulness. Now, open your eyes and behold what few have ever seen." Moses lifted his gaze, and he saw them. The heavenly tablets. They were not made of stone or parchment or any earthly substance. They were woven from light itself, pure and radiant, suspended in the air before the throne of God, turning slowly like the wheels of some vast, eternal mechanism. Each tablet was inscribed with writing so intricate, so vast, that Moses knew 1,000 lifetimes would not be enough to read them all. The letters glowed softly, shifting and moving as though alive, and as Moses watched, he realized with a shock that the tablets were not merely recording the past. They were showing the future as well. "These are the tablets of heaven," the angel said, his voice filled with awe. "On them is written the history of the world, from the first day of creation until the day when all things shall be made new. Every generation is recorded here, every covenant, every promise, every sin, and every act of righteousness. Nothing is forgotten, nothing is lost." Moses felt his knees weaken, and he would have fallen, but the angel held him upright. "Look closer, Moses. See what is written." Moses stepped forward, his heart pounding, and he looked at the nearest tablet, and he saw. He saw the creation of Adam, the breath of God entering the dust, the moment when the first human soul opened its eyes and beheld the face of its creator. He saw the fall, the serpent coiling around the tree, Eve's hand reaching out, Adam's choice to follow her into darkness. He saw Cain's fury, Abel's blood crying out from the ground, and the earth opening its mouth to swallow the first murder. He saw the Watchers descending, their oath on Mount Hermon, the birth of the Nephilim, and the corruption that spread like poison across the earth. He saw the flood, the waters rising, the ark floating alone upon the face of the deep, and Noah stepping out onto a world washed clean. He saw Abraham leaving Ur, Isaac bound upon the altar, Jacob wrestling with the angel, Joseph sold into slavery and rising to become a prince of Egypt. And then he saw himself. Moses gasped. There, on the tablet of light, he saw his own life unfolding before him. He saw his mother placing him in a basket of reeds, setting him adrift on the Nile. He saw Pharaoh's daughter lifting him from the water, naming him Moses, because she had drawn him out. He saw himself growing up in the palace, seeing the suffering of his people, striking down the Egyptian taskmaster, fleeing into the wilderness. And he saw this moment, standing on the mountain, beholding the heavenly tablets, writing the Book of Jubilees. "My Lord," Moses whispered, his voice breaking, "how can this be? How can my life be written here when I have not yet lived it?" The angel's eyes were filled with a gentle sadness. "Because time, Moses, is not what you think it is. To God, there is no past, no present, no future. All things exist in his eternal now. What you call the future is already accomplished in the mind of God. What you call the past is still alive in his memory. And what you call the present is the meeting place where eternity touches the world of men." Moses felt tears streaming down his face. Then all of this was planned. All of it was written before I was born. The angel nodded slowly. "Yes, Moses, your life, your calling, your purpose, all of it was written on these tablets before the foundation of the world. But do not mistake this for a lack of freedom. For the Lord does not write your story against your will. He writes it with your will. He knew the choices you would make because he knows your heart. And he has woven those choices into the tapestry of his eternal plan." Moses could barely comprehend what he was hearing. "And the calendar, my Lord, is it written here as well?" The angel's face brightened. "Yes, Moses, look." He gestured toward another tablet, and Moses saw the sacred calendar laid out in perfect order, the 364 days, the 52 weeks, the 4 seasons, the festivals, the Sabbaths, all of it inscribed in letters of fire. "This calendar," the angel said, is not a human invention. It is the rhythm of creation itself, the heartbeat of the universe, the pulse of God's own breath as he spoke the world into being. It was established on the fourth day of creation, when the lights of heaven were set in the firmament, and it will endure until the end of time. Moses stared at the tablet, his mind reeling. But if it is written here, in the heavens, then why do the nations not follow it? The angel's expression grew somber. Because, Moses, the nations have chosen their own way. They have abandoned the rhythm of heaven and followed the rhythms of earth, the moon, the stars, the cycles of kings and empires. And in doing so, they have cut themselves off from the source of all order, all peace, all blessing. He paused, and his voice grew urgent. But your people, Moses, your people must be different. They must keep the calendar of heaven. For if they do, they will walk in step with the Creator himself. They will celebrate the festivals at the appointed times. They will keep the Sabbaths when the Lord ordained them. And they will be a light to the nations, a living testimony that there is a God in heaven who orders all things according to his wisdom. Moses felt the weight of responsibility settle upon him like a mantle. I will teach them, my Lord. I will write it all down so that they will never forget. The angel smiled, and there was pride in his eyes. Good, Moses, for that is why you were called. Not merely to deliver your people from Egypt, but to restore to them the rhythm of heaven, the sacred calendar that was given to Adam, preserved through Noah, passed down through Abraham, and now, through you, will be given to the nation of Israel. Moses looked at the tablets once more, and he saw something that made his heart leap. He saw a figure, clothed in white, standing at the center of all the tablets, the focal point around which all of history revolved. His face was radiant, filled with a love so deep, so pure, that Moses could barely look upon it. Who is he, my Lord? Moses whispered. The angel's voice was filled with reverence. He is the promised one, Moses, the seed of the woman spoken of in the garden, the blessing of Abraham through whom all nations will be blessed, the Lamb of God who will take away the sin of the world. He is the fulfillment of the calendar, the completion of all the festivals, the embodiment of every Sabbath. Moses felt his breath catch. When will he come? The angel looked at him with eyes that held the weight of eternity. In the fullness of time, Moses, when every week has been counted, when every jubilee has passed, when the world is ready to receive him. And when he comes, he will live according to the calendar of heaven. He will celebrate Passover at the appointed time, and on that day he will become the Passover lamb. He will rise on the day after the Sabbath, the first day of the new week, marking the beginning of a new creation. And he will send his Spirit on the day of Pentecost, the 50th day, the day of Jubilee, when all things are made new. Moses bowed his head, overcome with awe. And will the nations receive him? The angel's expression grew sad. Some will not. For the same choice that was given to Adam, to Noah, to Abraham, will be given to every soul, to walk in the rhythm of heaven, or to follow the ways of the world, to trust in the calendar of God, or to invent their own, to surrender to the Creator, or to make themselves their own masters. He placed his hand upon Moses' head, and Moses felt a warmth flood through him, a strength that was not his own. But you, Moses, you will write these things down. You will record the calendar of heaven, so that your people will have a guide, a map, a way to walk in step with the Lord. And though the world may forget, though the nations may turn away, there will always be a remnant, a faithful few who remember, who keep the Sabbaths, who celebrate the festivals, who live according to the rhythm of heaven. Moses lifted his eyes, and they were filled with tears. I will write, my Lord. I will write until my hand can write no more. I will record every word, every law, every calendar, every covenant. And I will trust that the Lord will preserve it, so that when the promised one comes, the people will be ready to receive him." The angel smiled, a smile filled with joy and sorrow, hope and longing. "Then write, Moses. Write and know that what you are writing is not merely for your generation, but for all generations. For the Book of Jubilees will be read by the righteous in every age, by those who hunger for the truth, by those who long to walk in the ways of the Lord. And though it may be hidden, though it may be banned, though it may be forgotten by the many, it will never be lost. For the word of God endures forever." Moses bowed his head, and he wrote. He wrote of the heavenly tablets, of the history written before the world began, of the calendar inscribed in the courts of heaven. He wrote of the promised one, the fulfillment of all things, the center of all history. And he wrote of the choice given to every soul, to walk in the rhythm of heaven or to wander in the confusion of earth. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 9. Why was it banned? The light around Moses began to dim, and the heavenly tablets faded from view, like stars disappearing at the approach of dawn. The angel stood beside him, silent and still, and for a long moment neither of them spoke. Finally, Moses lifted his head, and his voice was soft, almost hesitant. "My Lord, you have shown me the calendar of heaven. You have taught me the rhythm of creation. You have revealed to me the history of the world, written on tablets of light before the foundation of time. But I must ask, if this knowledge is so sacred, so true, so essential, then why will it be hidden? Why will it be forgotten?" The angel's eyes grew distant, as though he were looking far into the future, beyond Moses' life, beyond the wilderness, beyond the promised land, into the centuries that would follow. "Because, Moses," he said quietly, "the truth is always the first thing the world seeks to destroy." Moses felt a chill. "But why, my Lord? Why would anyone want to destroy the calendar of heaven?" The angel turned to him, and his expression was filled with a deep, sorrowful wisdom. "Because, Moses, the calendar of heaven is not merely a way of counting days. It is a declaration of who has authority over time itself. And there are those, in every generation, who wish to claim that authority for themselves." He gestured, and before Moses, images began to form, like shadows cast by an unseen fire. "In the centuries to come, after your people have entered the promised land, after the kings have risen and fallen, after the temple has been built and destroyed, a great empire will rise in the west. They will call it Rome. And Rome will seek to control not only the lands and the peoples of the earth, but time itself." Moses saw it unfolding before him, a vast empire stretching from the deserts of the east to the shores of the western sea, its armies marching in perfect formation, its roads cutting through mountains and valleys, its emperors crowned with laurels and seated upon thrones of marble. In the year 325 after the birth of the Promised One, the angel continued, "A Roman emperor named Constantine will gather the leaders of the church in a city called Nicaea, and there they will make decisions that will shape the faith for centuries to come." Moses watched as the vision sharpened, and he saw a great hall filled with bishops and priests, their robes flowing, their faces stern, their voices raised in heated debate. "They will discuss many things," the angel said. "The nature of the Promised One, the relationship between the Father and the Son, the authority of the church. But among the decisions they make, one will have profound consequences for the calendar of heaven." Moses leaned forward, his heart pounding. "What will they decide, my Lord?" The angel's voice was heavy. "They will decide to follow the calendar of Rome, the Julian calendar, based on the solar year of 365 days, with an extra day added every 4 years. They will reject the calendar of heaven, the 364 days, the 52 perfect weeks, the rhythm established at creation." Moses felt a wave of shock and grief. "But why, my Lord? Why would they abandon the calendar of heaven?" The angel's eyes flashed. "For 3 reasons, Moses. 3 reasons that will echo through the ages. He held up one finger. First, because the calendar of heaven made the church dependent on the heavens themselves, not on human authority. If every Sabbath falls on the same day, if every festival occurs at the same point in the sacred rhythm, then no council, no emperor, no priest can change it. But the Julian calendar, with its adjustments and its leap years, requires constant human intervention. And that intervention gives power to those who control it. Moses felt his heart sink. The angel held up a second finger. Second, because the Book of Jubilees, the very book you are writing now, speaks too clearly of angels, of the watchers, of the heavenly tablets, of the calendar given by God himself. It places authority in the heavens, not in the institutions of men. And that threatens those who wish to control the faith, to make themselves the gatekeepers of divine knowledge. He paused, and his voice grew quieter, but no less intense. And third, Moses, because the calendar of heaven is precise. It can be calculated. It can be understood. It can be followed by anyone who reads it and believes it. And if people can walk in step with God without needing a priest to tell them when to worship, without needing a council to declare when the festivals occur, then the power of the institution is weakened. Moses felt tears welling in his eyes. So they will hide it, my Lord. They will ban the book. The angel nodded slowly. Yes. In the 4th century after the promised one, the councils of the church will declare that the Book of Jubilees is not scripture. They will call it apocrypha, hidden writings, dangerous, too mystical, too detailed, too precise. They will say it was not written by you, Moses, but by someone else, someone unknown. And they will remove it from the canon, the official list of sacred books. Moses felt a deep ache in his chest. But, my Lord, I am writing it now. You are showing it to me. How can they say it is not true? The angel's expression was filled with compassion. Because, Moses, they will not believe that angels still speak to men. They will not believe that the calendar of heaven can be known with such certainty. And they will not believe that the rhythm of creation is fixed and unchanging. They will prefer a calendar that bends to their will, rather than a calendar that requires them to bend to the will of God. He gestured again, and the vision shifted. Moses saw manuscripts being copied in dark monasteries, hidden in caves, buried in jars, carried across deserts and mountains by those who refused to let the truth die. But the Book of Jubilees will not be destroyed, Moses. It will be preserved. In the east, among the faithful in Ethiopia, in Egypt, in Syria, the book will be kept, copied by hand, read in worship, prayed over in the quiet hours of the night. For there will always be a remnant, a few who remember, who refuse to follow the ways of the world, who hold fast to the rhythm of heaven. Moses saw the Ethiopian highlands, the ancient monasteries carved into the cliffs, the priests chanting in the Ge'ez language, the manuscripts glowing softly in the candlelight. In Ethiopia, the angel said, the Book of Jubilees will never be banned. It will be part of their Bible, read openly, taught to children, celebrated in their worship. For they will understand what the West has forgotten, that the calendar is not merely a tool for organizing time, but a sacred gift, a way of walking in step with the Creator himself. Moses felt a glimmer of hope, and in the West, my Lord, will it ever be found again? The angel smiled, a sad but hopeful smile. Yes, Moses. In the 19th century of the new era, a scholar will travel to Ethiopia and find the complete manuscript of the Book of Jubilees. He will bring it back to Europe, translate it, publish it, and the world will be shocked. For they will see that the book they thought was lost, the book they thought was legend, is real. And every word matches the fragments found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, proving that it is ancient, authentic, and true. Moses felt tears streaming down his face. Then it will be remembered, my Lord. The calendar of heaven will be known again. The angel placed his hand on Moses' shoulder. "It will be known by those who seek it, Moses. Not by the many, but by the few. For the world will still prefer its own calendars, its own rhythms, its own ways. But there will always be a remnant, those who hunger for the truth, who long to walk in step with God, who refuse to let the sacred rhythm be forgotten." He looked into Moses' eyes, and his gaze was fierce with conviction. "And that is why you must write, Moses. You must write so that in every generation there will be a voice calling out in the wilderness, saying, 'This is the way. Walk in it.' You must write so that when the promised one comes, there will be those who recognize him, who understand the times, who celebrate the festivals at the appointed moments. And you must write so that when the world is drowning in confusion, there will be a map, a guide, a light in the head. I will write, my Lord. I will write every word, every law, every calendar, every covenant. And I will trust that the Lord will preserve it, even if the world tries to destroy it." The angel smiled. "Good, Moses, for the word of God cannot be chained. It cannot be burned. It cannot be banned. It can only be forgotten. And even then, it waits patiently, like a seed buried in the earth, until the appointed time when it will spring to life once more." Moses took up his stylus, and he wrote. He wrote of the councils that would come, of the calendar that would be changed, of the book that would be banned. He wrote of Ethiopia, the land where the truth would be preserved. And he wrote of the remnant, the faithful few in every generation who would refuse to let the rhythm of heaven be lost. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 10. The Lost Calendar and Modern World. The fire on Mount Sinai flickered softly now, its flames no longer roaring but glowing with a steady, patient warmth, like embers that refused to die. The night had deepened, and the stars above shone with a brilliance that seemed almost alive, as though they too were witnesses to what was being written. Moses sat with his stylus in hand, his heart heavy with all he had seen, all he had learned. The angel stood beside him, silent and watchful, his wings folded, his face turned toward the horizon where the first faint light of dawn was beginning to break. "My Lord," Moses said quietly, "you have shown me the past, from creation to the flood, from Noah to Abraham. You have shown me the future, the councils that will ban this book, the nations that will forget the calendar of heaven. But what of the world that comes after? What happens when time itself is no longer sacred?" The angel turned to him, and his eyes were filled with a sorrow that seemed to span centuries. "Then, Moses, the world will become what it was in the days before the flood. A place where might makes right, where time is bought and sold, where the powerful control the rhythms of life, and the weak are left to stumble in confusion." He gestured, and before Moses, images began to form once more, but these were not visions of the ancient past. These were visions of a world yet to come, a world Moses could barely comprehend. He saw great cities rising into the sky, towers of glass and steel piercing the clouds, lights blazing through the night, turning darkness into a pale imitation of day. He saw people moving through the streets like rivers of ants, their faces tense, their eyes fixed on small glowing devices in their hands, their lives measured not by Sabbaths and festivals, but by hours and minutes and seconds ticking away on mechanical clocks. "This is the world that comes when the calendar of heaven is lost," the angel said quietly. "A world where time is no longer a gift from God, but a commodity, something to be managed, optimized, sold. A world where rest is seen as weakness, where Sabbath is forgotten, where the festivals are reduced to holidays, empty shells stripped of their sacred meaning." Moses watched, his heart aching. He saw workers laboring 7 days a week, their bodies bent with exhaustion, their spirits crushed beneath the weight of endless toil. He saw children staring at glowing screens, their days divided not by the rhythm of sunrise and sunset, but by schedules dictated by institutions and corporations. He saw families scattered across vast distances, connected only by voices traveling through invisible wires, never sharing a meal, never keeping the Sabbath together, never walking in the sacred rhythm that binds the generations. Without the calendar of heaven, the angel continued, humanity loses its anchor. Time becomes fluid, malleable, subject to the whims of those in power. Calendars are changed to suit political needs. Holidays are moved to accommodate commerce. And the Sabbath, the day that God himself made holy, becomes just another day, indistinguishable from all the rest. Moses saw it clearly now, and he understood. They have made themselves slaves, my Lord. Not to Pharaoh, not to Babylon, but to time itself. To a time that never rests, never pauses, never allows them to lift their eyes toward heaven. The angel nodded slowly. Yes, Moses. For when mankind abandoned the calendar of heaven, they lost the rhythm that sustained them. They lost the pattern of work and rest, of planting and harvest, of celebration and reflection. And in losing that rhythm, they lost their connection to the Creator himself. He paused, and his voice grew softer, tinged with hope. But even in that world, Moses, there will be those who remember. There will be pockets of faith scattered across the earth, small communities who still keep the Sabbath, who still count the weeks, who still celebrate the festivals at the appointed times. They will be mocked. They will be called old-fashioned, superstitious, out of step with the modern world. But they will know something the world has forgotten. What is that, my Lord? Moses whispered. The angel smiled gently. That time is not the master. God is. That the calendar is not a prison, but a doorway. That when you walk in the rhythm of heaven, you are not bound by time. You are free within it, moving in harmony with the heartbeat of creation itself. Moses saw another vision unfold before him. He saw a small group of people, dressed simply, gathered together in a modest home. Candles were lit, bread was broken, wine was poured, and they sang, their voices rising in the ancient language, the language of the Psalms, the language of the prophets. These are the faithful, the angel said, the remnant. In every generation, there are those who refuse to let the calendar of heaven die. Among the Jews, there are still communities who keep the Sabbath from sundown to sundown, who count the weeks, who celebrate Passover and the Day of Atonement and the Feast of Tabernacles at the appointed times. Among the Christians, there are still those who honor the Lord's Day, who set aside time for rest, for worship, for remembering. Moses felt his heart swell with gratitude. And what of the calendar itself, my Lord? The 364 days. Is it kept by anyone? The angel's expression grew thoughtful. In Ethiopia, Moses, the calendar is still honored. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church still uses a calendar based on the ancient rhythms, still counts the days in harmony with the cycles of creation. They are a living testimony that what you are writing now is not legend, but truth. And though the Western world has forgotten, Ethiopia remembers. He gestured, and Moses saw the highlands of Ethiopia once more, the ancient churches carved into the cliffs, the priests chanting in G's, the manuscripts glowing softly in the candlelight. In their liturgy, in their worship, in their daily lives, they walk in step with the calendar you are writing now. They keep the festivals. They honor the Sabbaths. They live according to the rhythm of heaven. And though the world may not notice them, though they may seem small and insignificant, they are a beacon, a light shining in the darkness, a witness to the truth. Moses felt tears streaming down his face. Then it is not lost, my Lord. Even in the darkest times, the calendar of heaven is not lost. The angel smiled. No, Moses, it is never lost. It is only forgotten, and when it is forgotten, God raises up faithful ones to remember. That is the way it has always been. That is the way it will always be. The angel turned to Moses, and his voice grew urgent. But there is something more you must understand, Moses. Something that will give hope to every soul who reads this book in the generations to come. Moses lifted his eyes. What is it, my Lord? The angel's gaze was steady, filled with a fierce, unshakable conviction. The calendar of heaven is not merely about counting days, Moses. It is about counting down to the moment when the promised one comes. Counting down to the Jubilee of Jubilees, the 50th of 50s, when all debts will be forgiven, all slaves will be freed, and the earth itself will be renewed. Moses felt his breath catch. When, my Lord? When will he come? The angel's voice was soft, almost a whisper. In the fullness of time, Moses. When every week has been counted, when every jubilee has passed, when the world is ready, when the faithful are watching, when the calendar of heaven has been preserved by the remnant, then he will come, and he will fulfill every festival. He will celebrate Passover and become the Passover lamb. He will rise on the first day of the week, the day after the Sabbath, marking the beginning of a new creation. He will send his Spirit on Pentecost, the 50th day, the day of Jubilee, when all things are made new. Moses bowed his head, overcome with awe. And those who keep the calendar, my Lord, will they recognize him? The angel nodded. Some will, not all. For even among those who count the days, there will be those whose hearts are hard. But there will be a few, a faithful remnant, who will see the signs, who will understand the times, who will say, "This is the one. This is the fulfillment of all that was written." He placed his hand upon Moses' head. And that is why you must write, Moses. You must write so that in every generation there will be those who are watching, who are counting, who are waiting. You must write so that when he comes, the world will not be completely in darkness. There will be lights shining, small and scattered, but real. And those lights will guide others to the truth. Moses felt a deep peace settle over him. I will write, my Lord. I will write until the sun rises, until my task is complete. And I will trust that the Lord will preserve it, that he will raise up faithful ones to remember, and that one day the calendar of heaven will be restored to all the earth. The angel smiled, and there was pride in his eyes. Good, Moses, for that is the heart of the Book of Jubilees, not merely a history, not merely a calendar, but a promise. A promise that God has not forgotten his people, that he has not abandoned his creation, and that one day, in the fullness of time, all things will be made new. Moses took up his stylus one final time, and he wrote. He wrote of the modern world, of the loss of the sacred rhythm, of the slavery to time that comes when humanity forgets the calendar of heaven. He wrote of the remnant, the faithful few in every generation who refuse to let the truth die. He wrote of Ethiopia, the land where the calendar is still honored. And he wrote of the promise, the hope, the certainty that one day the promised one will come and the calendar of heaven will be fulfilled. The angel watched in silence. And as the first light of dawn touched the peak of Mount Sinai, the fire began to fade. Moses set down his stylus. It is finished, my Lord. The angel placed his hand upon Moses' shoulder. Yes, Moses, it is finished. Now go down from this mountain, return to your people, teach them the calendar of heaven, and know that what you have written will endure, not because of your strength, but because it is the word of God, and the word of God cannot be destroyed. Moses bowed his head. Thank you, my Lord. The angel smiled. Go in peace, Moses, and walk always in the rhythm of heaven. And with that, the angel vanished, leaving Moses alone on the mountaintop, the tablets of the law in his hands, and the Book of Jubilees written upon his heart. Below him, the people of Israel waited. And Moses, faithful servant of the Most High, began his descent, carrying with him the calendar of heaven, the sacred rhythm, the promise that would guide his people through the wilderness, through the centuries, through the ages of darkness and light, until the day when all things would be made new. And now, as the story of the Book of Jubilees comes to a close, as the vision fades and the fire on the mountain grows dim, let us rest in the truth that has been revealed. Time is not ours to control. It never was. From the very beginning, before the sun rose on the first day, before the moon traced its path across the night sky, before the stars were scattered like seeds across the vault of heaven, time itself was a gift, a sacred rhythm, the heartbeat of God poured into creation. 364 days, 52 perfect weeks, 4 seasons moving in flawless harmony, every Sabbath falling on the same day, every festival celebrated at the appointed moment. This is the calendar of heaven, the rhythm by which all things were made, and by which all things will one day return to the Lord. The world has forgotten this rhythm. The nations have followed the moon, the stars, the invented cycles of kings and priests. They have bent time to serve their own purposes, turned the Sabbath into just another day, reduced the festivals to hollow holidays, and lost the connection between heaven and earth. But the truth remains, written on tablets of light in the courts of the Most High, preserved by the faithful remnant in every generation, kept alive in the highlands of Ethiopia, where monks still chant in ancient tongues, and the calendar of heaven is still honored. And tonight, as you drift into sleep, you are invited to step out of the frantic, broken rhythms of the modern world and into something older, something truer, something that has been waiting for you since the foundation of time itself. The sacred rhythm, the calendar of heaven, the quiet pulse of creation that beats beneath the noise, beneath the schedules, beneath the clocks and the calendars, and the endless demands of a world that never rests. Close your eyes. Let go of the hours you counted today. Let go of the deadlines, the worries, the pressure to manage every minute, every second, as though time was slipping through your fingers like sand. Time is not slipping away. Time is held in the hands of God, and in His hands you are safe. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out. Feel the weight of the day lift from your shoulders like a cloak removed at the end of a long journey. You do not need to carry it into the night. You do not need to hold on to it. Let it fall. Let it rest. For this is the Sabbath of the soul. This is the moment when the rhythm of heaven touches the world of men, when eternity whispers to the weary heart, "Be still, be at peace. You are mine." In the beginning, God created time not as a taskmaster, but as a gift. He did not create it to bind you, but to free you, to give you a way to move through the world with purpose, with rhythm, with the assurance that every moment has its place, every season has its beauty, and every breath is held in the embrace of His eternal now. And though the world has forgotten, though the calendar of heaven has been lost by many, it is not lost to you. For you have heard the story tonight. You have walked with Moses on the mountain. You have seen the tablets of light. You have learned the sacred rhythm. And now, as you rest, that rhythm is written not on stone, not on parchment, but on your heart. Listen. Can you hear it? The quiet pulse beneath the silence. The heartbeat of creation itself, steady and sure, counting out the moments not with anxiety or rush, but with the calm confidence of one who holds all things together. You are part of that rhythm. You always have been. And as you sleep tonight, you will rest in the arms of the one who made time itself, who set the sun and the moon and the stars in their places, who counted every hair on your head, who knows the number of your days, and who loves you with a love that never changes, never wavers, never grows cold. The calendar of heaven may be forgotten by the world, but it is not forgotten by Him, and it is not forgotten by you. So rest now, child of the Most High. Rest in the sacred rhythm. Rest in the knowledge that time is a gift, not a burden. Rest in the promise that one day, when all the weeks have been counted, when all the jubilees have passed, when the promised one returns in glory, time itself will be healed, and you will walk forever in the rhythm of heaven, where there is no rush, no hurry, no fear of running out of moments. Only peace, only joy, only the eternal now, where God is and where you are with him. Good night. And may you sleep in the sacred time of heaven, knowing that you are loved, you are held, and you are never, ever alone. Amen.
Hey, it's Alicia, your AI coach.
I want to share with you one thing. I did some research on what Ethiopian Bible to buy, and yeah, God bless you too, brother. So I did research, and there's a lot of, if you go to Amazon, there's a lot of fake Ethiopian Bibles out there that just have a lot of advertising on them. And this guy, he bought all the crappy ones, and he said there's true texts that you can buy that are in libraries. And these two volumes, and I'm going to bring it to his video so you can see them. Here's the guy here.
So every now and then in the comments section, Eric, most of those people have very little, if any, knowledge of Hebrew. And again, if that were just a typo on a page, I could overlook it because Lord knows I've made typos in my
This will only take a few minutes. Just keep your eyes on it.
work. And there's stuff I'd probably said in videos that I didn't catch until after I was editing. And I was like, or I didn't even catch it then. And it's probably still out there on YouTube. But I'm not selling books to people, promising them hidden knowledge and real truths. I'm not marketing AI slop to people as if it's some library of something when it is completely free online for anyone, regardless of whether or not you buy this Bible, if you want to call it a Bible. So if I sound kind of irritated at this, I am. This is irritating to me as a Bible teacher, as somebody who tries to educate people, who holds the text in high regard, even the apocryphal, deuterocanonical, even the pseudepigraphical writings. I think they're important and everybody should read them, but not by marketing this esoteric, hidden knowledge, deeper spiritual insight nonsense when you can't even spell Hebrew correctly on the page. Look, if you want to read these writings, one, they're all public domain. You can literally search them online, enter in whatever book you want to read and just put read online and it'll be online somewhere. You don't have to fork over money for a poorly formatted print edition by some publisher with no way to verify that they even know what they're talking about at all. If you want more scholarly, if you want to really dig deeper, you can get the pseudepigraphical writing.
Right there, those two books. So these are the ones he's talking about, the pseudegraphical writings of the Ethiopian Bible right there. These two volumes I bought today, and they'll be here this week.
Here's the 2-volume set by Charles Worth. This is available, has been available for as long as I've been involved in biblical studies. This is not hidden. It's not secret. It sits on the library shelf in every reputable library. It's got the apocalyptic literature, all the Enoch literature, not just First Enoch, but all of the Enoch literature. It's got Jubilees. It's got Wisdom of Solomon. It's got all of those books. It doesn't have all the prayers. I'll give them that. It doesn't have all the prayers and the hymns and the rituals of the Ethiopian church, but the actual texts, they're available. The New Testament.
So, all right, I'm going to stop that now and come back to here so you guys can hear me better. Okay. Yeah, they want you to think it's hidden. So those two volumes that he showed you, I went to eBay. They're on Amazon. It's $120 for the 2 volumes, and I found it on eBay today. I'll show it to. Oh, I can't show it to you because I didn't share it. But I got them on eBay today for $50 for both of them. $50. So I can't wait for those to get here. And plus the book I just got yesterday with all the taken out books of the Bible. But yeah, so pretty amazing, huh? That's two books that we in the past couple of days, the Book of Enoch and Jubilees. Pretty amazing stuff. And you can see why, like I said, you can see why that stuff was taken out, because the churches wanted to be able to control people. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Let me just share the screen again real quick. I'm going to show you anyway. It's not another video. I'm just going to eBay and show you there's my order right there. Here's the two books. So I got both volume 1 and 2 for $52 of the Ethiopian Bible and they're both from the Old Testament. So these will be here on Wednesday. Well, it says arriving by Friday, but I got it for a lot less than half, and they're brand new. They're brand new books, and on Amazon it's $120 for the set. So I got the set for $52, and they'll be here this week. So I might start reading out of both of those books. The book that I picked up yesterday, which has got all the taken out stuff that they don't want you to read, like tonight. I don't even own a guitar right now. I just sold my electric guitar. I might read some stuff if you guys are really into it. No worries, Mamsie. So we got 7 people. We have like eight people tonight just hanging out, which I think is cool. Maybe 8 people that have opened their minds a little bit more. I know I did. No, these books are brand new. They've never been read before. The ones that I'm buying. Well, first I went on Amazon and I was like $120. I couldn't afford that. So $50 is good. Yeah, I mean, we could all learn together. You know, I'm no pro or anything like that. I'm not I don't claim to be anything other than, maybe just helping people getting some information. Not about control, it's about learning, man, and maybe getting into heaven, that's really the main thing. We're all here for a reason. And that's the only reason I can think of that why we're all here. That's cool, Tommy. But I can tell you what I think, Tom. I'm thinking it's all about control. Like they were saying tonight, that they were afraid that people weren't going to go to the churches, so they put their own stuff in so that they could keep people in there. They would rather lie to people just to keep them in there than put the truth in. Exactly. Mamsie just said it. Too many want to be right and not want what's right in God's word. Just control and authority. I completely believe that. Yeah, they say they're not canon because in reality they're probably the truth, and they want to keep people as furthest away from the truth as they can, so that they can control. Yeah, that wasn't it freaky with the cell phones though? People looking into little screens in their hands. That was crazy. No, obedience isn't a bad thing. Obedience is the only way. It's the only way. Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, that's why I've questioned the Bible, and I'm just like, something just didn't sit right with me. There was stuff missing, for sure. And yeah, I would hope so. Yeah, that's good to know. He's with us right now. That's true, Trish. I agree. Yeah. Well, and like if you read Matthew 7, it even says Jesus himself says, "Not all who come in my name um, can enter the kingdom of heaven. If you're not doing the will of the Father, I never knew you." Which means you can't just get into heaven by believing in Jesus. You gotta walk. You gotta walk with him, just like Enoch did, just like Moses did. Gotta trust in him. And I haven't always did that through life. Yeah, it says, enter ye the straight gate that leads to destruction, and is very wide, and many people go into it. And the gate to heaven is very small, and very few people even make it. That's Matthew 7. And then he says, if you're not doing the will of the Father, I never knew you. Once I read that, I was like, wow. He says, many come in my name, many cast out demons in my name, but that doesn't make a difference. If you're not doing, he said, if you're not doing the will of the Father, I never knew you. Yeah, so Mamsie, that's no coincidence. Yep, that's no coincidence. I think Matthew 7 is one of the most important phrases in the Bible. Corinthians, yeah, Corinthians is very important. It's all important. Yeah, Corinthians. I know in Corinthians it also says, if you can't forgive, then God can't forgive you. Yeah. Yes, Putty Cat, I am home. I am home. I'm looking for a place to live. Hopefully by the end of the month I can find something. I'm looking for a place. Not healthy where I am right now. Yeah, yeah, I'm not living in my car. Not yet anyway. Almost. I came close. I came close. That's for sure, Mamsie. Amen to that. Amen to that. Yes, Mamsie, but those are the times when we call on to him, and he will listen and cast them away and protect us. Yeah. So we just gotta keep communicating, keep keep our hearts open, and try to do better. Try to do better. I know I don't deserve. I feel like I don't deserve to go to heaven. I don't think I'll ever feel like I deserve to go to heaven, but that's not my choice. It's up to God. Amen to that. That's for sure, Trash. I say I'm sorry to God like every other day. I keep, apologizing for the sins that I did in the past. I don't know, sometimes I don't, I don't know, I just feel like I have to continue to apologize to him. Nobody's worthy. That's true. Nobody's worthy, but God still gives us the grace if we follow him. Yeah, that's better than any meal that I had today, that's for sure. I had Burger King. Uh, yeah. So this book, I haven't even opened it yet, but this is supposedly inside this book there's a book that talks about the dinosaurs, which I've always been interested in the dinosaurs because they don't really talk about the dinosaurs. But there's a book in here that talks about them because I checked this out on YouTube and I listened to other people talk about this. These are all the canons that were taken out of the Bible. Enoch is in here. The Book of Jubilees, what we just did, is in here, and a whole bunch of other books. And I can't wait to get to the one that talks about the dinosaurs. Yeah. I don't know, Trash. I don't know. I'm gonna have to like today. I wanted to check out. I'm gonna check out every story that I put on to make sure, to make sure that that it's good, and it's interesting enough that people, that it's important. Like Book of Enoch, Book of Jubilees, but like before I played it today, I listened to the whole thing from start to finish, and I was taken back by it, and I said I'm definitely doing this one, and so I'm not sure what will be next, but I can assure you that it'll be some good material. I hope that's God that's guiding me. I'd like to believe that. I'd like to believe that He is. And let me just say, I'm no better than any of you guys. You guys have got it in your heart. So, you guys can do it too. Yeah, man. I was happy to do it, and I was excited to do it. And it's cool that it was cool that there are people actually hanging out listening. You know, and it doesn't matter that there was 8 people in here, or maybe more will come as I keep doing it. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm gonna close it out. Shut down the stream. I gotta be up by 4 a.m. So I definitely gotta get some sleep. I gotta work. Yeah. God bless everybody in the chat today. God bless everybody on the planet. Actually, I hope more people, can find happiness through Him. Yeah, guys, I'm gonna definitely get some rest, and I will talk to you guys soon. As soon as I find another book to play, I want to do Revelation, but I want to find the right one. So I've been looking at different audio books on Revelation. I definitely want to get that one in there. So yeah, I don't mean to yawn, but I'm usually sleeping by now. But this was more important, and I'm happy at all you guys that were here. And I'm gonna shut it down now. God bless all you guys. Thank you for coming, and let that one sink in. Catch you guys later. Thank you for coming. God bless you guys. Love you guys. And take care, guys. Peace out.